Whether you are just starting out or you have been operating for years, you need to confront many legal obligations and issues faced by entrepreneurs and small business owners all over America. This beginner's legal playbook will teach you everything you must understand so no one can mess with you, thus ensuring your business is legally protected. If you want the word litigation to be retired once and for all from your business vocabulary and records, you must start implementing today all of the small tips, tricks, and tactics revealed in this vademecum. Stay tuned. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. I hope you are doing fantastic. I hope you are doing wonderful. I'm doing marvelous. If you are doing marvelous as me, as I am, grab a cup of coffee, tea, or vodka, and let's roll. So today I really want to talk about small business law 101. Now, we'll try to stay away from all the technical jargon. We're trying to break things down and sort of really understand what's really important in today's world when it comes to small businesses. Now, the things that I want to talk to you today, those things might stand in stark contrast to what you live in everyday life as you conduct businesses. But the most important thing is that they will all apply to small businesses all over the United States and even Canada. All right. Before we even start here, let me just give a shout out to our millions of viewers in North America and overseas. We appreciate your support. We appreciate all the tips you have been giving us all those years. Thank you so much. And particularly, I want to give a shout out right now to Jasmine Cho in Amherst, New Hampshire, Otto Galloway in Exeter, New Hampshire, and Channel Wilkins in Walterboro, New Hampshire. All right. Now, it is very important. The first thing I want to talk to you today about is what is the best business structure for small businesses. This is very important. Now, before I even start, folks, this is not legal advice. This is not any kind of legal sort of a guidance here. This is more general information for your particular business, for your particular situation. I would advise you, and that makes sense, to contact a licensed attorney, somebody who is well versed in the subtleties of the law as it applies to your particular situation. All right. So now let's just dig into it. What is the best business structure for your business? Now, structuring your business is one of the first and most powerful decisions, right, you will ever make, especially when it comes to dealing with your business down the road. Now, deciding the best business structure for small business can sometimes be a challenge, right? I mean, if you think about it, you can't just randomly pick a business structure, out of a hat. It doesn't make sense. You got to know which type of entity, as this could affect your small company. Now, there is another thing here is that you have, according to the IRS, there are 5 main business structures to choose from. Now, why do we have to follow the IRS advice? Is because ultimately you are going to file taxes, you are going to pay taxes. So it is important to sort of listen to the opinion of the taxman on this particular matter. Now, what are the 5 types of business structures? Sole proprietorship, partnership. Now, by partnership, I mean general limited or limited liability partnerships, right? LLP. You have a variety of versions, a variety of a combo when it comes to this. So you have a sole proprietorship, partnership, limited liability company. It could be single member or multi-member LLC. You have corporation. That's the one that we all know, the big ones. And you have S Corp, S corporation. Now, the structure, and again, understandably, the structure you select will impact everything from your tax liability to your personal liability, right? So now, just make sure that you have to choose a structure before you can register your business, no matter which states, right? Because all states agencies want to sort of have clarity over the type of business you want to operate under. Now, let's just first talk about the first one, the sole proprietorship. Now, the sole proprietorship is, by and far the most common business structure you find in America. Now, a sole proprietorship is owned and operated by one person, and that person is called the sole proprietor, right? Now, this is kind of a good option if you want to have complete control of your business. That's a good thing. Now, just mind you that sole proprietorship do not produce a separate business entity. In other words, your personal asset and liability are intertwined with your business asset and liability. This is very important. So the thing here is that, your business expenses and personal income and personal expenses are all intertwined. All right. And likewise, if you are a sole proprietor, you are liable for your business's liabilities and losses, right? In other words, if anybody comes after you, that person is actually, in essence, attacking you personally. So if you're brought to court when it comes to litigation, you don't have separate liability from the business. Anything the business, if your business goes out of debt, goes into debt, your personal assets may be at risk. All right, that's the first category. Now, second category here is partnership, right? A partnership is in essence a business that two or more individuals own and operate together, right? So partnerships they actually come in two ways. So you have general partnerships and you have limited partnerships, right? So a general partnership is owned by two or more people. Now, the thing is that in this kind of a configuration, in the general partnerships, the partners manage the business and assume responsibility for the partnership's debt. This is very important. Now, partners have equal shares of all profits and losses. All right. The thing also is that in general partnerships, the partners can actually work as co-owners, right? So the most important thing is that think about having a partnership agreement so that you can clearly lay out the specific shares for each partner, and how the profits and losses and everything else will be shared, will be divvied up, right? Now, besides general partnership, you also have limited partnership. Now, a limited partnership has both general and limited partners, right? So the thing is, you got to have at least one general and one limited partner before you can start a limited partnership, right? Now, the limited partnerships only serve as investor for the business, and typically they're not involved in the day-to-day business decisions, right? So general partners own and operate the business while assuming liabilities for the partnership. Okay, so if you want to have a partnership and you are the general partner, you have control and responsibility, right? But the limited partners who will come to you, they're just bringing you the cash. They're just doing a cash infusion, right? They're putting some cash into the business, so they get ownership without taking the responsibility and risks. All right. Now, the third category of corporation here is, what everybody knows as corporation, but also called C corp. Now, I'm talking about the biggies of the industry, the Amazon, the Facebook, those that are publicly traded, but also the private ones, that we know less. But the thing is that a C corp is separate from its owners. This is very important. You have to understand that laws treat corporations as independent legal entities. In other words, if somebody does something, if a Facebook employee right now goes and does something, for example, doing something mischievous over the weekend, for instance, the court is not going to the judge will not blame Facebook for it, right? Unless that particular employee is acting on behalf of Facebook, right? So the thing is, a corporation will provide you with the strongest protection from personal liability, right? Now, it is good to know that a corporation is a more complicated business structure, right? It is a good option if you want to plan, if you're planning to expand your business and add shareholders, right? But you have to understand that with shareholders coming into the company, right, there is an extensive list of obligations, right? I'm talking about things like tax requirements, more regulations, thorough record keeping and reporting, all this kind of stuff. And of course, corporations are C corps are double taxed, right? In other words, you pay income tax at the company level and you pay income tax at the personal level. It's very important. Let's move on to S corp. Now, S corp is kind of cool too. S corp is a type of corporation where profits and losses are passed through directly to the owner's personal income without being subject to corporate tax rates, right? So the thing is that, the shareholders in this particular S corp must be U.S. citizens. And the thing is, you have a cap on the number of shareholders that an S corp can have, and that's 100. You can't have more than that. Now, only the owners or shareholders of the business are taxed. Okay. Now, the last category here is the limited liability company, an LLC. Now, the good thing about this particular legal structure is that it allows you to take advantage of the sole proprietorship, corporation, and partnership business structures. So they are very very flexible. And the good thing is that your LLC separates business and personal liabilities, right? Of course, all owners share they share tax responsibilities, but the good thing is with the LLC is that it gives you liability protection like a corporation without the drawback of double taxation. All right, so because you can pass through taxes to the personal income level. And the other thing is that, unlike other business structures, owners in LLC, they're not liable for their business debt. It's very important. Now, in a lot of states, I think about 45 states here, at 45 states, an LLC has a limited life. All right, so just make sure that you check your LLC, or you check your state judicial records to make sure that everything, the lifetime of an LLC. All right. I will be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to this section of the Small Business Law 101. We are actually trying to understand things here, and we first talked about the business structure that you need, and now we want to talk about something called articles of incorporation, right? Now, just know that those articles of incorporation are only necessary for S corp and C corp, right? Okay. Now, in the last 10 years, the industry has seen better, what I call, better preparation, a better preparation from small business owners when it comes to this articles of incorporation, which means that probably people are getting more familiar with the concept. They are able to channel their personal experiences on to the business scene to better protect themselves, to better really cover their back in case there is a problem. Now, what are articles of incorporation? If you want to probably look on the screen, we are also showing that these articles of incorporation, they have several names, right? Sometimes we call them company constitution, corporate charter, business incorporation papers, certification of incorporation. So anytime you hear this kind of stuff, don't be confused. They are talking about the same thing. Now, articles of incorporation are legal documents you must file with the state government, right? When you incorporate your business. So if you are only incorporating your business, remember, you only incorporate your business if you set it up as an S corp or C corp, right? So these articles will establish what the company is about. It will detail the roles of its managers and stockholders, right? So the thing is that, in America, the government requires all new corporations to file these articles with the appropriate state agency. This is very important. So you gotta file them. You gotta file these articles of incorporation as soon as you want to structure your business as a corporation. Never wait to file. It's very important. Now let's just kind of see the documents you need to put into those articles. I mean, it's not really it's really straightforward, but I'm just going to break them down for you here. So you got to talk about your business name. This is number one, right? So the main location of the business. make sure that the address is correct, right? This is very important. Your name and address, names and addresses of officers and directors, the name and address of the person who will receive official papers, and a statement of your business purpose, and the number of stock shares the business can issue, right? Now, those are very critical. Now, again, this is not legal advice. I want you to if you need particular advice, talk to an attorney who is specialized in the subtlety of your state laws, because the state rules might be different, right? So the state you incorporate in might require more sections or details within the sections. All right. Now, how do you write articles of incorporation? That's a good question. So if you want to do things yourself and you don't want to rely on an attorney, which is also a possibility, because a lot of business owners can do this thing themselves. There are a lot of templates on the internet, or templates if you contact your state agency, your appropriate state agency. Things can you can see you can look at the type of verbiage, the type of language used in those articles of incorporation. So in most states, the Secretary of State's website has an articles of incorporation template that meets the minimum filing requirement, right? You can use that among others. You can use that template among others, and you can fill in the blanks to effectively create your articles of incorporation, right? Now, of course, those are minimum, as I said, those are minimum requirements. So, the templates just make sure that you include the basic information. So feel free to add more. Feel free to add more info, if you are in the industry and you want to share more info with state authorities, that kind of stuff. Yes. Now, how do you file the articles, right? So first, I told you how to write them, and then you want to file the articles. Just make sure that you gotta first choose a state where you want to incorporate, right? So if you conduct business in only one state, you want to incorporate in that state, right? Now, if you operate in multiple states, the best recommendation here is to incorporate in the state that is friendliest to corporation that incorporate there, right? I mean, this is critical. In most states, you will file the articles of incorporation with the Secretary of State's office, right? Now, remember that some states will require the documents to be filed with a different office. So when you file, you also need to file to pay a filing fee. And once the Secretary of State's office approves the article of incorporation, your business exists from that point on as a corporation, right? And you don't need to file articles of incorporation with the federal government. The only thing you need to file with the government is that once you get that articles of incorporation approval, you need to send a message to the IRS so that they will issue to you something called FEIN, which is your federal employer identification number. And from there on, I think you would have covered your responsibility as a good citizen, as a good corporate citizen. All right, we'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another section of this show. We are talking today about a lot of good things, but most importantly, Small Business Law 101. Now, if you just joined us, please remember that this is the beginner's legal playbook you must understand so no one can mess with you. Do you hear that? No one can mess with you. Now, we talked in the first part about business structure for your small business. In the second section, we talked about articles of incorporation. And in the third section here, I want to talk about whether or not a sole proprietor can have employees. This is very important because, again, according to the Small Business Administration, you have about 57% of American businesses that are operating as a sole proprietor. In other words, most people want to work by themselves. They just want to manage everything, and they want to mingle. Therefore, their personal life with their work life of course, there are some serious consequences to that in terms of risk and liability, but that's what people want, right? So we can't really judge them from that point on. Now, before we talk about that, let's just give a quick. I love giving quick shout out to our fans and listeners and viewers. So, quick shout out to Virginia Burnett. She is in Patterson, New Jersey. We have Pellegrin, Elizabeth, New Jersey. Annalie Ramsey, Montclair, New Jersey. Wonderful city of Montclair. Thank you so much. We also want to give a shout out to our millions of viewers and listeners and fans in the United States, in New Zealand, in Australia, in Germany, in Lithuania, in Nigeria, in South Africa, in Brazil, all over the place. If you love the content you're hearing so far, please consider subscribing to our channel. We drop a lot of content every day, sometimes every other day, depending on how busy we are. But turn on the notification bell so you can be informed whenever we have a new show coming up. Subscribe to like the channel, like the channel, and we will love you back. Share this content, because somewhere right now someone might need to hear about this sort of advice. This is very important. And comment, give us your opinion about your experience about forming and structuring a business in your particular state. We always want to hear from our beloved listeners and viewers and fans. Now, the thing is that a lot of people picture sole proprietorships as, tiny, teeny-weeny single-person businesses, right? So basically, the owner is just working long hours. They're probably working in their basement, and they are just tucked away in a little home office. Now, the thing is that this picture is true, but it is more complicated than that. And a lot of sole proprietors grow. They do tend to grow. The sole proprietorship grow, and you might think, okay, if the business is growing, do I need to hire an employee? I am a sole proprietor. Remember, as a sole proprietor, you don't have to file anything. You don't have to file any paperwork with state authorities, right? You just get up one morning and start working. Just start making money, and of course, at year end, you gotta talk to the tax man, right? You gotta talk to the IRS, make sure that everything is clear, everything is clean on that end, right? On the fiscal end of things. So, let's say that you have a sole proprietor. No, you have a sole proprietorship. I'll get that. So imagine you have a company that is a sole proprietorship. In other words, you work for yourself, right? And let's say the company is growing, like the business is booming. You're just receiving a lot of orders, and you can't handle them all. You cannot handle them yourself. So you decide to hire an employee, right? The thing is that can you have one or two or 1,000 employees as a sole proprietor, or do you need to change your business structure? That's an important question, right? That's really an important question that really occupies the attention of several lawyers across the United States, depending on the states. Now, just gonna quickly give you a definition here. What do we call sole proprietor, right? What is the legal definition? Now, a sole proprietorship is a business that is owned by one person, but that business is not incorporated. So you don't have to declare, as I said earlier, you can just start a business by yourself automatically. You don't have to declare anything with state authorities. As I said before, if you have a sole proprietorship, there is no segregation between your personal and business asset, right? You are personally responsible for any business debt, and you just report all your income, your business income, on your individual tax return. You use the form 1040, of course, but Schedule C as in Charlie. All right. Now, can you hire employees? Of course. A sole proprietor can hire employees. You can hire as 1 million employees if you want to. It's not a problem, right? But like I said, it's as an employer, however, you are responsible for all employment administration, taxes, record keeping, right? You have the same responsibilities as any other employer, whether they own a C corp, S corp, LLC or LLP, right? Now, one thing you need to understand is that if you want to hire employees, you need to get the FEIN that I just told you about, right? The Federal Employee Identification Number. And you got to get that from the IRS, because the IRS just want to make sure that you are paying taxes on behalf of those employees, and that you are also, let's say, in compliance with other tax laws, right? Now, applying for applying for an FEIN, it's very easy. You can do it online, right? It's not a problem. Now, another thing I want to say here is that when you hire an employee, remember that you do not become an employee, right? You are still the boss. You are still a sole proprietor. So the wages that you pay to employees, they are deductible as a business expense on your Form 1040, as I said before, Schedule C. You can also deduct healthcare costs, travel and entertainment paid to an employee. All right. Another thing is, can you hire family members? Of course, because a lot of people think there is some kind of a craziness around hiring family members. No, you can hire your spouse. You can hire your children, as long as you believe that they have the skill set that fits your business. Why not? Now, remember though that if you want to hire your children, make sure that you follow child labor laws, right? Because your tax liabilities might change depending on the age of your child, right? Because the thing is, if your child is 18 years or younger, you don't need to withhold or contribute FICA tax, right? Social Security, you don't need to do that. Now, but the thing is that you have to track those payments. And one thing you also need to do is you don't need to pay FUTA tax until your child is 21 years old. So no matter what, no matter the child's age, make sure you always withhold federal income tax, right? Now, if you remember, you don't need to change your business structure to hire employees. You can still be a sole proprietorship and operate as everything was fine, right? Now, if you want to, if you think that it makes sense, then you can really consider becoming an LLC, a limited liability company. And this is the best option for you, because if you go with a partnership, you need to have another partner, right? But if you want to be a corp, as an S corp, a C corp, the structure might be too complicated. Like, they might require you, as we said earlier, that you file articles of incorporations and so on and so forth, right? So to keep things easy, you can switch to an LLC so that you can segregate your business and personal assets and reduce your personal liability. All right, this is very important, because if you get in trouble, if your company gets in trouble, or you personally get in trouble, the business will be protected, or you'll be protected either way. All right, let's come right back after this short commercial break. Thank you. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. I'm just doing fantastic. I'm just doing wonderful. Now, whether you're just starting out or you have been operating for years, you need to confront many legal obligations and issues faced by entrepreneurs and small businesses all over America. This beginner's legal playbook will teach you everything you must understand, so no one can mess with you, thus ensuring your business is legally protected. If you want the word litigation to be retired once and for all from your business vocabulary and records, you must start implementing today all of the small tips, tricks, and tactics revealed in this vademecum. Now, let's really get into something very exciting here. This is very, very important, and I want you to pay attention to the screen right now. How business structure affects taxes. I'm going to walk through everything here, but I want you to really pay attention to to what you have on the screen. So now we talked about the five types of business structure, right? I hope you didn't forget that. But yes, I'm going to quickly just tell you again. So you have the sole proprietorship, partnership, corporation, S corp, C corp, and LLC. Now, as you can see on the screen right now, for sole proprietorship, numbers owners is one. You don't need a lot of people. You don't have no limited liability, so everything is you share the business expenses and losses with your own. You combine them. It's not a pass-through tax. I mean, it is a pass-through tax. Sorry. In other words, the business taxes are combined with yours. When it comes to tax forms, as I said earlier, it's Schedule C, Form 1040, right? Let's switch now to partnership. Now, partnership, it could be limited liability partnership. It could be liability partnership. So it could be general partnership. You gotta have minimum of two. There is no limited liability, so you assume everything. It is a pass-through tax scheme, of course, and you report the income on Schedule K1 of Form 1065. All right, and this is a 1065. That's the form. That's the IRS forms for partnerships and LLC in some cases. Now, the corporation here is you got to be. You can be one person can incorporate as one person can incorporate a business. All right, a C corp or S corp. So numbers owners, one or more, right? Limited liability, yes, you do have protection. You do have legal protection, so nobody can come after your personal assets, and yeah. So it is not a pass-through tax scheme. In other words, you pay taxes at the corporation level. Of course, we still have that double taxation thing though. But yeah, but for corporation, S corp, C corp, you got to use Form 1120. All right. Now let's move on to single member LLC. So when it comes to LLC, again, you can be one person. You don't need to have many partners with you. It provides you with the legal liability. It is a pass-through. It is a pass-through tax scheme because you still file taxes. I mean, you still report income and losses on Schedule C of Form 1040. So you kind of combine the business expenses and profits with your own, right? Now, the multi-member LLC is a little different because it allows you to use a different tax form. You use Form 1065, and this is Schedule K1, where you kind of put the business expenses and income, and also it is a pass-through tax, of course, and you do have limited liability. All right. Now let's talk about according to the Small Business Administration, the thing is that, as I said earlier, when it comes to large employers, the majority structure as corporation. So the majority of companies, they rather just go with the corporation path. Now, you can have the SBA. It says something that's really interesting. Some companies can have up to 1,500 employees and still be considered a small business, right? So we also have S corp. S corp make up around, like, I would say, give or take 50 to 55% of all small employer businesses. You have to understand also that the majority of non-employer businesses structure, as I said earlier, as sole proprietorships. Now, when it comes to your personal situation, right? This is something that you're probably asking, okay, what do I do? What's really happened on my personal case? Now, I have a clear answer for you. But again, before you do everything or anything for that matter, make sure you enlist the services of an attorney, of a qualified attorney who is familiar with the subtleties of business structuring and business, conducting business in your particular state. Now, one thing I want to say is that the way you choose your business structure, every company is different, right? So it depends. So, there are pros and cons for being a sole proprietor versus being an LLC. So if your concern is pass-through taxation, for instance, you might want to decide to form an LLC or S corp, right? You have to understand that if you have to go through those things, if you have to form an LLC or S corp, this process requires more paperwork and startup fees, right? So just you gotta carve out a little more time and money for these structures, right? Now, if you want to have a larger business, then a C corp will work for you, because under that structure, you can enjoy limited liability protection and a business that continues after you leave, but you are also subject to more complicated tax filing, and management requirements. So when it comes to sole proprietorship, as I said earlier, a sole proprietor might be the right choice for you if you're going into small business ownership by yourself, right? And you just want to have something very easy, simple, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. If that's what you want, then go with the sole proprietor. All right. I will be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. I'm here today just enjoying myself, talking about a very exciting topic. This is Small Business Law 101, right? I want to give a shout out before we start. I want to give a shout out to Celine Hopper. She's in Las Cruces, New Mexico. I love that city. Louis Grimes, Santa Ana, Pueblo, New Mexico. And Kylie Reese in Mescalero, New Mexico. So Kylie Reese, Louis Grimes, and Celine Hopper in New Mexico. Thank you so much. Now, right now I want to talk about the key questions that you need to ask yourself before you start a business, right? Now, you need, this thing's going to be complicated. Therefore, you need to prioritize your time, energy, investments, right? So where to start? Okay. First question you got to ask yourself here is, are you starting the business by yourself or with someone? Right? Because if you start the business with someone, then you cannot be a sole proprietor, for instance. You got to think you're going straight into the other categories, right? So if you're starting a business on your own, do the sole proprietor. So if you do it, you can even go single member. You can even be a single member LLC, an S corp, or just a C corp, right? Now, if you are starting the business with someone else, you've got to structure the business as a partnership, corporation, S corp, or multi-member LLC. So the first question is, are you starting the business with someone? Second question, how important is limited liability to you? Right? Like you don't want your butt to be sued if something happens, right? So you basically are trying to understand, to what extent you cannot bear or can bear limited liability. So your personal asset could be at risk if your business cannot pay debts. So if you want to cover yourself, if you want to cover your back and protect yourself and your personal assets, you need to consider a business structure that offers limited liability, right? So those would include LLC, for instance, right? Those will include a S corp. Those will include C corp, for instance. All right. So those are the three things. So LLCs, C corps, and S corps offer limited liability. So limited partners in limited partnerships and limited liability partnerships also enjoy limited liability protection. Just want to clarify that. Now, the third question you need to ask yourself here is that what kind of tax responsibility, what kind of fiscal responsibility do you want to have? Right? Because remember, if you are a small business owner, you are responsible for paying taxes on business income, right? So when it comes to business taxation, sole proprietors, partners, LLC members, and S corp shareholders enjoy pass-through taxation. In other words, your business does not pay taxes. Tax liability passes through your business and you pay taxes at the personal level, right? And the thing is that regular corporations are considered separate legal entities, which is why they are typically taxed twice, right? Because you have to pay taxes at the company level, corporate income taxes, and also pay taxes at the personal level. Now let's move on here. Now, how do you want to pay yourself? That's another question, right? Because this is very important. The kind of structure you choose will impact how you pay yourself from your business, right? Now, if you own the business, you're not going to receive a salary unless your business is incorporated, right? So if you don't have an S corp or C corp, you will just receive a draw, right? So basically, unlike salaries, taxes are not withheld from draws, right? So if you take money out of the company, you got to really, you have to think of it as a draw, not as a salary. Now, you are responsible for paying self-employment tax to cover Social Security and Medicare taxes. And you need to pay estimated taxes too. So, every quarter, every month, so that you don't get slapped by the penalty a year. And if you have an underpayment situation, right, you pay less taxes than the taxman would have wanted you to pay. And another thing you want to think about is that what kind of control do you want to hold over your business, right? Because if you, let's say, if you want to have complete control, then I'll say go for sole proprietorships and single member LLC. That's the best structure if you're trying to have a complete control. If you want to have complete control over your business. Now, another instance where you have a complete control is when you have a limited partnership, but you are the general partner. So you have limited partners who just bring in the cash, just put the money in the company, but you are the one running the day-to-day show. All right. Now, if you co-found a business, you got to share control with other partners, members, or shareholders, right? According to your founders or according to the partnership agreement. We'll talk very soon about the partnership agreement. Now, another question that will determine whether or not you choose one structure over the other is whether or not you have the time and money to handle a complex structure, right? Because remember, if you are a sole proprietor, you don't even need to do anything. Just start working, start producing ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. Just start making money, right? And the thing is, a sole proprietorship is very easy structure to form, and has the least amount of government regulations, right? So partnerships also are very easy to form. You can just start a partnership with as little as a handshake. Think about it. Of course, listen, you still have to draft a formal partnership agreement, right? Just to make sure that nobody messes with anybody, right? But yeah, this is pretty it. So sole proprietorship and partnership. Now, when it comes to LLC, you need to file articles of organization, and you got to pay fees. Now, for a corporation, you need to file, as we saw before, articles of incorporation also. All right. Now, the thing is that, for the S corp, particularly for S corporation, you need to take an additional step after structuring as a corporation or LLC. You can elect S corp status by filing Form 2553, which is called election by a small business corporation. So you got to file that after incorporating. All right. Another thing you want to pay attention to is, and this is something that while researching for this show, the production team has seen time and again. You got to think about what your business vision looks like, right? Because it's very important. Let's say that if you choose a business entity, you need to consider the future of your company, right? Otherwise, the thing is that you gotta always, you gotta every now and then switch business structures, and this process is convoluted, it's complicated, right? And sometimes it's even restricted. So let's say you're planning on major business expansion. A corporation is the way to go, for real. That's for sure, right? You can't plan a major business expansion from a sole proprietorship or from a single member LLC, right? I mean, you could, but you need to have, if you want to expand the business and you have a corporation, you may have more investors interested. All right. So think about those things as you are, as you think about constituting your business. All right, we'll be right back right after this. Welcome back, folks. Now, if you just join us, right? If you're just walking around and you just listen to us and you think, and you just thought to yourself, this is a pretty good show. I mean, I love the content. I probably just love the voice of the of the man, also of the host. But more seriously, if you enjoy the content and you want to be part of this team or be part of the Sweaty Kiwi community, please consider subscribing to our channel. We drop beautiful content every day, sometimes twice a day, 3 times a day, depending on our inspiration and whether or not we're lazy or not, this kind of stuff. Turn on the bell notification so you are informed whenever we release new content. Please share this show with your friends and those who are in business. Comment below, give us your experience, and most important, like. Oh, before I forget, please watch the ads that we serve ads that are served between segments in this show, because this show is ad supported. We rely on those ad revenue to be able to expand the production team, to hire more people, to conduct on-site investigations, to travel to sites of interest, and to do a lot of crazy stuff that in the end produces a quality result that is free, because we want you to get this for free. All right, let's jump right into it. Now, there is something that is very important that is called the exit strategy. You got to have an exit strategy. If you are in business, you want to have exit strategy. Now, a well thought out exit narrative helps create meaning and motivations for yourself, but also for those who are associated with your company. This is very important because you might be excited to start a new business. It's kind of cool, right? Money is coming in, but you need to have an exit strategy, because everything here on this earth has a beginning and an end, right? I think somebody called it Alpha and Omega. My Greek was not really good in high school, but so you got to think about the Alpha and the Omega. So you are constituting business, right? But you got to think about how to exit it too. So now, what is an exit strategy? Very simple. It is how you, as the business owner, plan on selling your investment in the business, right? It's got to be part of this strategy, exit strategy. It's generally part of the business plan, right? And the thing is that, especially if your business fails, exit strategy helps the transaction of power go smoothly. Now, you might say, I don't want to think about failures. Nobody is talking about failure here, right? We're just trying to think about the alternative here, right? When you buy life insurance, or when you buy insurance in general, are you thinking about the event? Do you want the negative event to happen? No, right? I can't hear you. No. So the key here is that no, you don't think about that. So you think about protecting your business. You think about protecting your life. It's the same thing for exit strategy when it comes to small businesses. Now, we're going to put on the screen all the different types of exit strategies that you might have in while conducting your small business. So there are actually 5 types. Again, we have it on the screen. You have merger, acquisition. You can sell to a friend or family member, or you can do an IPO. This is called an initial public offering, or you can just do a liquidation, right? So take a look on the screen here. We have merger. So basically, when you have 2 or more businesses combined into one new business, that's what's called merger, right? Now, the good thing is that investors or shareholders love this type of business combo because it increases the business value, right? Now, the thing is that you can't merge your business until and unless you are still part of the business. In other words, you can't go through a merger as an exit strategy if you're not part of the business, right? So through a merger, you'll still be an owner or manager of the new business, right? And sometimes you have something called corporate restructuring, right, where your employees, so you're actually combining everything. You're combining assets, including the human assets, with the liabilities with the new business, right? Your employees might be part of the new merged business. Of course, sometimes you have a little bit of redundancy, so people get fired or they just get a severance package. So yeah, now there are 5 main types of mergers. Of course, there are several, but here I'm just giving you a few of them. So you have conglomerate. So you have 2 companies that have nothing in common. They come together and they just marry. So that's a conglomerate merger. You have a horizontal merger. So when you have 2 businesses that are in the same industry, right? So let's say you are in retail. You have someone who is you have a food store, and then you have an organic product store, for instance, right? So you can do what specialists called an horizontal merger. The third thing is the market extension. So market extension merger, under this scheme, both companies sell the same products, but they compete in different markets, right? So let's say you are in Ohio and you are in a particular business, and you have another company that is in New York and sells the same thing but in a different market. When you combine, it's called a market extension merger. You also have something called a product extension merger. So this is as the name implies, you have products that go together, that go well together, right? Say you are selling, for instance, gardening equipment, and you want to merge with someone who sells, with a company that sells home improvement, like DIY equipment. Those 2 products, those 2 categories of products go well together. So we can consider that a product extension merger. And the 5th category here is something called the vertical merger, whereby both businesses, they make part for a completed product. Okay, so this happens a lot in the automobile industry, for instance, when you have people, you have a company that produces, for instance, tire, right? Just having a vertical merger with another company that produces engine, automobile engine. So this is pretty cool. Now let's talk about acquisition here. For acquisition, very simply, an acquisition happens when a business buys another business, right? So if you use that, you give up ownership of your business to the business that buys from you. Now you can also sell your company to a friend or a family member, right? That's if you want to see your business live under someone else's ownership. Yeah, you can definitely do that, right? You can even sell to a child. You can sell to a cousin. Doesn't matter, right? Sometimes you have if a business has become a staple in your like in the community, you might see authorities even step in to buy the business, or someone who has been a customer for, say, 40 years or 50 years or 30 years, not willing to see that business disappear, right? So usually you see those you see those sort of schemes in small cities across America and Canada, and you also see them around things like restaurants, where people have been eating at the same restaurants for many years, and they just have some kind of fond memory when it comes to the routine, the eating routine, if the place is convivial, people are feeling good, they're feeling relaxed. Nobody wants to see that disappear. So another form of small business exit is an IPO. As I said before, this is an initial public offering. This is actually the first sale of the business stock to the general public. Now you'll probably hear people say, "Oh, I'm going public." That's what it means. When a business goes public, the business is filing an IPO. Now, businesses, remember, can be either private or public, right? So if a business, for instance, is private, there are one or a couple of owners, right? Like a partnership or a sole proprietorship. Now, public businesses, they are usually large, and what they do is they sell ownership of the company to the public. In other words, they raise money by exchanging stakes in the company, right, with money. So they sell those shares to the public. Now, mind you that it costs massive money. It's just massive. The amount of cash it takes to go public is just massive. So, and sometimes it's also difficult for small businesses, right? Because you gotta hire SEC experts, CPAs, lawyers, investment bankers, that kind of stuff. Now, CPAs are certified public accountant, and at the SEC stands for Securities and Exchange Commission. So this is the federal agency that covers, securities investment in the United States as well as financial market. All right. Now, the last exit strategy here that you might want to consider is liquidation. Now, of course, liquidation happens if the company can't pay its debts, right? So it has to be liquidated. Now, under that scheme, as you can see still on the board, basically business operations and the liquidation value of your assets, of your company's asset, are split between creditors, right? The thing is, you don't need to negotiate anything or merge your business or anything. You just disappear in terms of the business, of course, just disappear overnight. It's liquidated, right? So your business stops and your assets go to those, like I said, who you owe money to. Now, remember though, if you liquidate your business, you lose your business concept, reputation, and your customers. Very important. All right, we'll be right back right after this. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweaty Kiwi. I'm very happy to be here today with you. I love talking about money, ka-ching, 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 but most importantly, also law. Now, first, you want to give a quick shout out to Niam Turner, a country club in the beautiful state of New York, Empire State, Arthur Reed in Massapequa Park, New York, and Madeline Cook, Battery Park City, New York. Niam Turner, Arthur Reed, and Madeline Cook in the beautiful state of New York. Thanks for supporting us. Thank you for all the encouragement, all the good comments. We appreciate them, and we love you back all the way to New York. Now, what are the legal implications of a business plan? I know I spoke earlier about having a business plan. That's very important because you will need to put that exit strategy in your business plan. Now, a business plan is just very simple. It just outlines your goals and how you want to achieve them. Right now, according to the SBA, the Small Business Administration, a successful business plan should include things like company description, so you tell people how you will meet your customers' need, right? A market analysis, right? So you talk about your competitors, your target market, your industry, the services and products you will sell. You want to have market, you want to showcase the marketing plans for generating sales, and you want to explain to readers how your funding request will help you, will help you achieve your goals. And financial statements. This is key. You can have financial statements and also financial projections. In this case, the term financial statements and the terms financial projection and financial statements are interchangeable because you can't have financial statements without starting your business. So those are necessarily financial projections. All right. Now, what are the benefits of a business plan? The good thing is you can get cash from outsiders, right? You better understand your own market, right? You have to have clear strategies. You have to define SMART plans, right? SMART, remember, SMART standing from SMART is shortcut for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. All right, so you want to have a SMART strategy. And the good thing is you can even check the financial numbers, because you would have in there in the business plan, you would have financial projections, right? Like I said. And the good thing is that you can actually always compare the expected results, so the projections, versus the actual result, and see whether or not you are creating positive variance. You are creating a positive variance or having a negative variance. Either way, the delta between your projected financial data and your actual will go a long way towards either reassuring your investors, your lenders, and yourself that you are on the right path, right? That's what we want to have. Everybody wants to be on the right path. So, this is, you might say, oh, why are we talking about finance in a legal tutorial? Well, it is important because a business plan is it's not part of the incorporating documents, but it's part of the initial documents that you need to show anyone, regulators, investors, lenders, especially lenders, right? Say you just start a business and you want to get a loan. Well, it's always good to have a business plan on hand so you can show it to the lender and say, hey, listen, here is what I'm thinking about. Here is what I want to get done. What do you think? All right. So that this is really what it is. Now, another thing you want to do is that you want to describe, of course, your business, right? So you want to know how to pitch to investors and lenders, how you intend to work, so you can captivate their interest. So you want to think about things like who are you? What's the name of the business? What is your product and service? Where is your business located? That kind of stuff. When will you implement your business plan and see the results? What is your exit strategy for a small business? That kind of stuff. Why would someone out of nowhere just give you money? Like, why would a potential customer want to buy from you? Right? And number 6, which is very important, what type of business structure will you form or have you formed? Right? So we talked about that before, because those things are telling investors the kind of mindset you have. Do you see? Because think about if you just go to an investor and say, listen, I've been thinking, I would like to have $20,000 from you or $500,000 from you. But you know what? I'm just comfortable. I'm just so relaxed right now. I love my sole proprietorship, or I love my single member LLC. Do you think seriously that investor will advance you any cash? I didn't think so. Yeah. So nobody will want to give you money if your business structure is not compatible with the kind of financing scheme you want to implement. So you got to have a C corp status or S corp status if you want to get, or even a general partnership status if you want to get cash from someone, right? Now, it's as I said earlier, you don't have to do a business plan. It's not legally needed, but it is strongly recommended. And the SBA, the Small Business Administration, strongly recommends it because it might become very handy. It might be very handy if you need external funding, things like loans, equity investments, or hybrid, money infusion, right? Hybrid will be a mixture of a loan and equity. Now, what's happening in terms of business plan and litigation? Now, it's always good to file with state officials during incorporation, right? Now, if you file a business plan with state officials during incorporation, or if investors or lenders relied on your representation in the business plan to take action or restrain themselves from taking action, for example, loaning you money or pouring cash into your company, rather than walking away, you can lose in court if they can prove 2 things, those investors or lenders: negligence and financial tort. Now, when it comes to negligence, there are 4 elements that a plaintiff must prove to win a negligence suit, and those are duty, breach, cause, and harm. So, for instance, if an investor wants to establish a case for negligence against you, they must make sure that all 4 elements have been met. Duty, a duty is simply a legal obligation. In order to be sued for negligence, the defendant, in this case the investor, must have owed the defendant is actually you, because you are being sued. So the defendant, in this case your company, must have owed a duty to the plaintiff. Breach is a violation of a law or duty, right? So the your company or you must breach your duty in order to be liable for negligence, right? And there's a third thing called cause. So the breach of duty must have caused harm to the investor or the customer, all right? And the last thing is that harm. The plaintiff must suffer harm in order to sue for negligence, right? If the plaintiff suffers no harm, he or she cannot sue. So I'm just trying to really break things down to you so you understand, again, so that nobody can mess with you, right? The more informed you are, the more powerful you are. So you can lose in court based on the concept of negligence and the concept of financial tort. Now, financial tort, the elements of financial tort are: you made a false statement, for instance, while filing your business plan with state officials during incorporations. You lied on the statement, you lied on the business plan, right? You lied in the business plan, not on the business plan. You lied on the business plan. So you lied in the business plan, or you should have known it was false. An investor or customer relied on that false statement to make or not make a decision, or take or not take an action that would have been beneficial to the defendant, or the action or lack of action produced financial or business harm to the defendant. All right, we will be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition. We're still here. Talking about beautiful stuff. A lot of interesting stuff, interesting things. And all right. So, what is liquidation? I mean, this is a painful topic, but we need to talk about it again, because the more informed you are, the better, right? It's not about walking away from difficult decisions, but really embracing the decision and trying to understand what it means, right? This is very important. Now, liquidation is simply the process of selling a business's asset to produce enough cash to pay back creditors, right? So after liquidation, the business closes. So, if you have a business and you can't make ends meet, liquidation is one option to pay creditors and close the business. Remember that liquidation is just one business exit strategy option, right? We talked about several strategy options before. So, you might decide to liquidate your business if you have, say, too many debts to pay and not enough money, right? So this is really, according to the SBA, you have about, on average every year, you have about 500,000 firm closures. So, business closures in the United States. So this is a pretty large number. So, the type of things you can liquidate in a business liquidation here included things like inventory, so you have finished goods, raw materials, work in progress, furniture, couches, desk, chair, equipment, computers, forklifts, copy machines, all this kind of stuff you can liquidate. Now, another thing you want to do here is that if you want to understand who those assets that are liquidated pay. So when your business, again, I'm not going to talk about your business. I don't want to invite a curse on your business. Let's just talk in general here. A generic business. When a generic business undergoes liquidation, you have to liquidate assets to pay off debt, right? That means the asset of the business are sold and turned into cash to pay something very important here, the high priority creditors. Now, some of the high priority creditors with claims to your business's liquidated assets. All right. Now I'm going to list them in order from the highest priority to the least priority. Okay. First, you have your secured creditors. So these are people these are lenders with collateral, right? Or you have you have some kind of security promise for the loan repayment. So remember that the collateral is different than the liquidated asset, because after selling the collateral, secured creditors use the cash from the sold asset to cover the rest of the loan, right? This is like if a bank, let's say a bank loans a business to buy equipment, right? That equipment has collateral on it, right? So that's the thing. You also have those called unsecured creditor. So an unsecured creditor does not receive collateral, right? So we're talking here the government, the IRS, credit card companies, and employees. So if you owe the government any taxes, it will have claims to your liquidated asset, right? But but after the secured creditors. So similarly, if you owe your employees wages, they have a claim to your assets. The third category is the shareholders. So I mean, if you have a small business, chances are you don't have a shareholder or shareholders. But if you do, just make sure that just understand they are going to get paid after unsecured creditors and secured creditors. All right. So that's about it. And you as the business owner, if there is, which never happens, but if you are lucky enough that there is some cash remaining after paying all creditors, then that cash comes to you, right? But like I said, in most cases, there is no leftover money after paying creditors, because this is just how the game is played. Because if you are having financial problems in the first place, if you are having some kind of financial stability in the first place, you would not have you would not have to sell to liquidate your business, right? So this is pretty much it, folks, about business liquidation. Let's be right back right after this. Welcome back, folks. We are still talking about liquidations here because in the last section, I just sort of described to you what liquidation is and who is paid, who is not paid, that kind of good stuff. It's good stuff. So, what are the key steps when it comes to liquidation? Now, before we talk about that again, please, if you just joining this show right now, I just want to give you the context under which we are operating. Whether you are just starting out or you have been operating for years, you need to confront many legal obligations and issues faced by entrepreneurs and small businesses owners across the United States, right? This beginner's legal playbook will teach you everything you must understand so no one can mess with you, ensuring thus that your business is legally protected. If you want the word litigation to be retired once and for all from your business vocabulary and records, you must start implementing today, all of the small tips, tricks, and tactics revealed in this vademecum. All right, now let's talk about the liquidation steps. So, the first thing you have to do is, if you start having problems in your business, right? The thing you have to understand is you don't just sell your laptop and call it a day. There are some critical and some specific steps that you need to follow to liquidate your business so that the whole process goes smoothly, right? Now, the good thing is you first need to talk to your, some very key business people. You got to talk to your accountant, your banker, and lawyer. Those are very important. So accountant, banker, and lawyer, right? So, let's say you need to tell your creditors beforehand that you'll be pursuing liquidation. Your lawyer can take care of that, right? And your accountant, for instance, can help recommend how to sell your assets, and they can help you through the process. Now, you want to have a correct list of your inventory, right? You want to prepare the assets that you want to sell. So let's say, and the thing is that you have to make everything you want to sell appealing, right? Let's say you want to sell a car. You want to make sure that you make the car look good, or even better, great, right? Just make sure all your assets are in top shape. You also want to provide warranties and records with any equipment you plan on selling, right? Now, it is very interesting to understand that those companies that go smoothly through liquidation, they work with an appraiser. So The appraiser will help you set the prices of the items that you'll be selling. And you also have to remember one thing, which is very important. That is that the liquidation value of your assets will give you at least 25% less than retail value. Okay, so if you work with an appraiser, at least you have an idea of the end sale amount, right? So just make sure that you have to deduct the cost of the sale when figuring out your net sale income, right? So you have to also add the cost to hire, the hiring cost for the appraiser. That's very important. So that's very, very important to know. You also want to think about the fact that there are several ways you can liquidate your company. You have something called consignment sales. You have negotiated sales. You have internet sales. You have sealed bid sales, retail sales, going out of business sales, and you have public auctions. Public auctions. Now we have an entire show dedicated to liquidation and those type of sales. And you might want to check out this show. You'll probably love it. And one thing that is very important also is that you need to work out a plan with creditors, specifically the secured creditors, and you want to do the same thing with suppliers and customers, right? So that you are very, very you are in top shape after the process. Now, what is the correlation or the relationship between liquidation and bankruptcy? Now, if you want to get rid of your business, you can choose to declare bankruptcy, right? So a business can liquidate with or without declaring small business bankruptcy. You can file for Chapter 7 bankruptcy if you are the sole proprietor or you have ownership in a partnership or a corporation. After Chapter 7 bankruptcy, in other words, not after, but under Chapter 7 bankruptcy rather, small business owners that are forgiven after the liquidation process, right? So again, think about your options. You don't have to declare bankruptcy in order to liquidate your business assets, all right? And we'll see later in the show the differences when it comes to the type of bankruptcy. So Chapter 7, Chapter 11, Chapter 13. That's got this kind of stuff. All right, we will be right back right after this. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. We are very happy to have you here. We are very, very happy. Now, I know we've been talking about a lot of stuff so far. We are still talking about the legal tutorial, the beginner's legal tutorial for small business. And I know that I've said it before that you need to pay attention to a few things so nobody can mess with you. And we are continuing this tradition in this show here. Now, before I continue, please watch this show is ad supported. We rely on ad revenue to expand, to hire more people in the production team, to conduct on-site investigations and reporting, to provide free quality shows. So please watch those ads. We also invite you to comment below to let us know what you think about the content we're having, the topic. This is very important. We also would like you to share this data so everybody must have the right info. Everybody must have it. All right, like the content, like our show, and we'll love you right back. And also subscribe, turn on the notification bell so we can keep you in the loop whenever we drop a new sweet show. All right, now let's talk about partnership agreement. Now this is very important because a partnership agreement is a very, very key things, and you'll be surprised, but all over America and Canada, a lot of lawyers like to haggle. They like to haggle over precise wordings of communications, minutes, resolutions, priorities, roles, this kind of good stuff, if you are into them, that you usually see in a partnership agreement, right? So after you choose a business structure that works for you, and that you are paying taxes, and that you know how to split profits and losses, you are fine, right? You should be comfortable. But before you do that, you need to have a partnership agreement. Now, what are the what do we call partnership agreement? It is just a contract that defines each partner's role, liability, and profit distribution, right? So when you create this kind of agreement, you are sure that you and your partner, or partners for this matter, have a solid plan to refer to during a conflict. This is very important because people change, right? People change. Today it could be all lovey-dovey, everybody's fine, everybody's just relaxing and chilling, right? And the next thing you know, things happen and people want to split, right? Even in a marriage, people break up, right? So when you have a partnership agreement, at least you know I'm not telling you to let your spouse sign a partnership agreement here. Don't tell her or him I said that, right? So you got to have a partnership agreement. So, you know, the partnership agreement, remember, it's a legally binding document. So please consult a lawyer before drafting your partnership contract. All right? You're not required to create one, but some partners decide to enter into a partnership just with a verbal agreement or handshake. But I believe it's just better to have things written down, because you never know. Tomorrow people will start telling you, oh, I don't remember, we said this kind of stuff, and you can't prove it. So get it written down and have the document signed by all partners involved in the deal. Okay? Now, we want to talk about general partnership agreement. So remember, a general partnership is owned by two or more people who have an equal share in profits and losses. So both partners are general partners, right? In other words, they are responsible for managing and making business decisions. Again, a general partnership agreement is not required. You don't have to draft anything, but it is good because it keeps your business. It helps keep your business running smoothly, right? So you want to have something like, conflict resolution, exit strategy, that kind of stuff in a general partnership agreement. In a limited partnership agreement, you have at least one general partner and one limited partner, right? So the general partner assumes business risk while the limited partner is not liable for anything beyond his or her investment, right? So as we said earlier in the show, in this scheme, general partners are generally responsible for making business decisions and handling day-to-day operations, right? So as a limited partner, you just put cash into the business and you just sit and wait for the dividends or for the profits. So what you want to do is you want to, in a limited partnership agreement, you want to lay out the partner details, right? And the thing is that this kind of agreement is critical because partners have different levels of involvement, liability, and profit share. So you want to get things written down ASAP and clear enough. Again, consult an attorney here, right? Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Don't try to appear creative or smart. No, the stakes are too high. If you are spending a lot of money building your business, you don't want to lose it overnight because you made a mistake or a typo or whatever it is in a legal document because you just didn't know, right? Okay. The thing is that what do you need to include in a business partnership agreement? Now, it really depends on what you're after, but in most business partnerships agreements, you have things like contributions, right? How much money people are putting in. It could be money, it could be equipment, it could be anything, right? So you have contributions, you have profits and losses. So how those things are divvied up, right? How are they split up? You have partner roles, so you want to make sure everybody knows, their responsibilities and authority. So this is very critical. For instance, when it comes to things like running payroll, hiring employees, doing marketing, right? You also want to specify partnership changes. So if there are if If you and your partner want to add a third person or fourth person, or one of your partners wants to be bought out, you need to have a clear wording around that. Or for instance, you want to have an exit strategy, so that the partnership can be taken over by somebody else. This thing also should be in the document, right? Now, conflict resolution. Now, like I said, anytime you have two or more people working together, conflict becomes unavoidable, right? This is not something you can avoid here. So you want to lay out a clear foundation of paths you will follow to resolve disputes, so that if tomorrow things are happening, you can go back to the agreement and settle things. Remember, the agreement is a legally binding document, because the whole thing you don't want to be involved in a lawsuit. You want to just get over it and just move on to your next life, right? So have this conflict resolution option in the business, in the partnership agreement. All right, I'll catch up with you soon. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. I'm just having fun here. I just love the conversation we are having, and I want to talk to you more about, liquidation, small business constitution, this sort of very interesting topic. All right. Before, please allow me to give a shout out to Sophia Perry. She is in Grand Forks, North Dakota, Jacob Hopkins in Valley City, North Dakota, and Maya Bennett in Devil's Lake, North Dakota. All right, Sophia Perry, Jacob Hopkins, Maya Bennett, North Dakota. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now let's talk about bankruptcy for small business owners. Bankruptcy. Now, if you can file bankruptcy for several reasons, right? I mean, like I said, you can, if you face large amounts of debts caused by failing business, these things can be overwhelming. So if your business is going under, start looking at your options here. Don't wait until the end, right? Don't end up losing your savings, vehicle, and home if your company falls too deep into debt. Nobody wants that. At least I don't want it for you. I'm not wishing that for you here. So what are the reasons you can file for bankruptcy? So poor market conditions, lack of financing, lawsuits, cash flow issues, or hasty decision making, right? Quick decision making. Now, the bankruptcy for small businesses, the code actually can help you quickly close your company, right? The thing is, you don't have to deal with wrapping up every aspect of your business. You don't have to, things like, you don't have to take care of things like, selling inventory, discarding or getting rid of equipment, collecting unpaid invoices. Now, there are some cases, however, where bankruptcy can help your business stay afloat if you want to continue operating. So, it's just that it allows you to it keeps you in business while reducing your debt. All right. So when a company goes bankrupt, first you have to file a bankruptcy petition with your local federal bankruptcy court. Once you send the petition, you basically receive something called an automatic stay. That means your creditors must stop trying to collect money from you, right? That also means that you must also file bankruptcy schedule to file small business bankruptcy. Now, the schedule will list your asset and liability, expenses and income, and contract and leases. All right. Now, you have to understand that once you have that, the U.S. trustee program will assign a local bankruptcy trustee to your case. So that trustee will oversee your assets and payments to your creditors. So the type of bankruptcy you file and your business structure affects what happened after filing, right? In some cases, your business debts are just simply dismissed. Isn't that beautiful? But no, depending on the type of bankruptcy and structure you operate under, your personal asset could also be at risk. This is very important, folks. Okay, so There are two ways to deal with a failing business through bankruptcy. So you have liquidation and reorganization, right? So it really depends. So liquidation, so if you can't, if a small business can't pay its debts, it just has to liquidate. We already saw that, right? So the business closes and its assets are divided among creditors. So you have things like chapter 7. If you can see on the screen, we have now the options. So chapter 7, chapter 11, chapter 13. So chapter 7, this kind of bankruptcy uses liquidation to handle a failing business. If you file for chapter 7, you must close the business and give up your asset. So the asset you forfeit depend on your business structure, right? So the good thing here is that if you are a sole proprietor declaring bankruptcy, consider filing under chapter 7, because this type of bankruptcy is way cheaper and easier than others for sole proprietors, right? So the thing is that with this kind of chapter 7 filing, all the qualifying business and personal debts are wiped out. You don't need to pay for any qualifying debts, right? So basically things like credit card debts, loans, back rent, utility bills, and lawsuit judgments, those things are just dismissed. And you have to understand that the IRS still wants to be paid. So your tax obligations are not eliminated. See, the government was very, 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 very smart there to make sure that it always gets its money. It's ka-ching. So chapter 7 relieves you of most business and personal debts, but there is a downside, right? So you have to understand that sole proprietorships and their owners are not separate entities in the eyes of the law. So you are personally responsible for all business debts, right? Okay, we'll talk more about that. Now let's talk now about reorganization. So in some cases there is hope that a failing business can be saved, right? Again, as you can see on the our little description about chapter 7, chapter 11, chapter 13. So if there is hope that a failing business can be saved, then what you want to do as a business owner is that you want to extend the life of the company through reorganization. So what it means is that you are, in essence, restating the assets and liabilities. So, and you negotiate new arrangements to pay creditors, and the business, as a result, continues to operate, right? So chapter 11 bankruptcy uses reorganizations to manage failing businesses. All right, you can do it. You can use it for sole proprietors, for partnerships and corporations. You can also use it for LLCs. All right. Now you have to understand that chapter 13 reorganization is only available for sole proprietors. So partnerships and corporations cannot file bankruptcy and under chapter 13. So chapter 13 is similar to chapter 11, right? So you continue to run your business while paying creditors, right? The thing is that there are debt limits on chapter 13. So you can't file chapter 13 if you owe more than $394,725. Let me repeat that. You cannot file chapter 13 if you owe more than $394,725 in unsecured debt, or more than $1,184,200 in secured debt. Those are numbers that are pretty important to know before you choose any option. So how do you choose the best bankruptcy option? Now, I think that it really depends on your situation. We have provided a clear-cut definition here that we have on the board. You can see business bankruptcy options. You have chapter 11, chapter 7, chapter 11, chapter 13. You see the description of the option, the purpose of it, and the affected business type. All right, take a look, and we'll be right back right after this. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweaty Kiwi. We're still here talking about beautiful things, small business law 101, one of my favorite subjects. Okay, why are we talking about this, really? Why are we having this conversation today? Now, it is very simple, because whether you are just starting out or you have been operating for years, you need to confront many legal obligations and issues faced by entrepreneurs and small business owners all over America. This beginner's legal playbook will teach you everything you must understand so no one can mess with you, thus ensuring that your business is legally protected. If you want the word litigation to be retired once and for all from your business vocabulary and records, you must start implementing today all of the small tips, tricks, and tactics revealed in this vademecum. All right, now let's quickly go back to another section that I'm sure you will love. You will actually love. So, what are the financial tasks that a small business owner must actually take care of? This is very important. So, if you don't have to be an accountant, you don't have to be a financial whiz or a financial guru, but you have some responsibilities. Meaning, you gotta hire someone to take care of them if you can't do them yourself, right? So, I mean, of course, managing accounting is just one of your business owner responsibilities, right? It can be nerve-wracking and overwhelming, especially if this is not your forte. So, please outsource everything to an accountant. All right, you can outsource to a bookkeeping company or to a CPA firm. CPA stands for Certified Public Accountant. Those are like very sophisticated accountants. They know a lot. They can help you. So there are things as a business owner that you can manage on the financial front, right? So the thing is that if you can do them, you can save money. You keep your business in check, and you understand your business financial state. It's very important. Now, record keeping. Let's talk about record keeping. Very important. You want to make sure that you have no discrepancies in your books, so that everything is clear and nobody comes to attack you, especially when you get audited by the IRS or another organization, or you have a lawsuit. So keep documents like your receipts, tax returns, and contracts, so that you can maintain accurate accounting books. All right. So next thing you want to think about here is that you want to have a clear idea of how you invoice customers. That's what specialists call the sales cycle. So the sales and accounts receivable cycle. So you want to have a way to invoice customers in a proper way. All right. So if you provide a product or service before collecting customer payment, you need to understand those things. Now, you want to monitor your business bank accounts, right? Make sure, as we said before, that you don't mingle your personal cash with your business cash, right? So create a business bank account so that in case of a lawsuit or anything, you are segregating the liability spectrum. All right. So, checking the money in your account, either online or through a mobile app. This is very important. So you can observe changes in funds. So if your account is compromised, make sure you can catch it quickly, because that will help you catch it quickly, and you can notify the bank ASAP. And this is very important. Another thing you want to think about here is it's by monitoring your P&L, your profit and loss statements, and your business records in general, you can cut back on business expenses, right? Because if you pay attention to all your expenses, chances are you might actually, find out that sometimes you waste money on certain things, and you can actually, cut them out, especially those expenses that have a low return on investment, right? So determine which expenses you can live without and eliminate them, right? So one thing you want to also think about is that ask your accountant to have a quarterly or monthly call, so that you can learn more about the business, learn more about how to run your business better, right? And creating financial statements is another responsibility of a business owner. Again, You don't have to do it personally, but yes, you want to make sure that somebody does it. Financial statements are simply documents that display your company's financial information for a certain period, right? So you can use them to find out about the health of your company or profitability. Now, there are three types of financial statement. There are actually four, but I mean, those three are pretty solid. So you have the income statement. That's also called statement of profit and loss, right? So it shows your company's profits and losses for a specific period. You have the balance sheet. The balance sheet is also called the statement of financial position. And this is basically, it shows your assets, your company's assets, liabilities, and owner's equity. And then you have the cash flow statements. And this basically, it just kind of measures money flowing in and out of your business. So accountants like to have this the cash flow statement in three categories. So you have something called operating cash flows, you have financing cash flows, and then you have investing cash flows. So this is just a quick FYI. We'll be right back right after this. Welcome back. We are still here talking about Small Business 101, a beautiful topic that I love talking about. And I hope you're still around and just enjoying this show with me. So the last thing, or the next to last thing I want to talk about here is actually the last thing. Yeah, I want to talk about something called a non-compete agreement. This is very important. And again, I'm trying to make sure that nobody messes with you. And a non-compete agreement, it's a good thing. And you can even have employees sign one. But we'll just see very quickly how that works. Before I do anything, please let me just give a shout out to Isabel Rogers in Westchester, Ohio, Patrick Parker in Upper Arlington, Ohio, and Victoria Fox, Mason, Ohio. I love you, Victoria, Patrick, and Isabel. A lot of hugs and big love to your families down there in Ohio. Now, the reason why you want a non-compete agreement is that you want to protect your business from any potential harm, right? You don't want your employees just to walk away with your business secrets and share them with other companies. This is crazy, but yeah, these things happen. So this is why you want to have a non-compete agreement. So what is it really? It's sometimes it's called like a covenant not to compete. So if you see somewhere written CNC or NCA, those mean the same thing. So NCA is non-compete agreement and CNC is a covenant not to compete. All right, so it's a type of, really, let me just think about how to break it down for you here. Let me just say, this is similar to a confidentiality agreement. So in essence, it prevents your employees, your workers, from becoming your competition in the future, right? So if an employee, for instance, signs a non-compete agreement or non-compete clause with you, that employee generally cannot work for your competitors nor start a business to become your competitor. And this makes sense, right? It really makes sense, because imagine you have spent a lot of months and years trying to come up with the business idea. You're putting a lot of sweat and blood and money, and then all of a sudden somebody comes work for you for 3 months. Something happens, they're not happy, they walk out and they just take your idea and just go out with it. No, there has to be some protection. So please sign a non-compete agreement with your employee today. I don't care which industry you're in, no matter the industry, you want to cover your butt. We need to make sure that your butt is covered legally, I mean. So basically, a non-compete agreement can last for a designated period of time, right? It can be 4 years, 3 years. You can say, 2 years after termination. After termination, you can't do this for 2 years, right? And you can say, or you can also apply it to a specific geographic area. So you can say, let's say you are doing business in a small city or in a particular city, right? And you have an employee who just leaves the company. You want to prevent him or her from, competing against you. Sorry, basically, in the same area, right? If they want to go, if he or she wants to go elsewhere, okay, but not in your local area, right? Okay. Now, another thing you want to know is what goes in a non-compete agreement. We need to kind of know that, right? This is important. So you have a lot of stuff. So you have things like the reason for the non-compete, things the employee is not allowed to do, the length of the agreement, the parties the agreement applies to, the date the agreement becomes effective, the geographic region, like I said, and signatures of all parties involved. Now, if on the internet you have several templates of C&C, so just go and download one and just adjust it to your situation, or even better, hire an attorney, right? Hire an attorney who can explain to you how to get things done quickly. All right. Now the question is, should you have a non-compete agreement? Yes, you do. I think every company, and the SBA, the Small Business Administration, agrees with me. Every company must have a C&C, because you want to cover your back, right? You don't want employees to take your knowledge, the knowledge of your business, the knowledge base you've been spending years and years developing. You don't want someone just out of the blue come and take that knowledge and send it to the competitor. No. So even though non-compete agreements are great for businesses that have trade secrets, advanced technical info, or business practices they want to be protected, I still think all kinds of every business, small business or large, should have a non-compete agreement. It's just part of the insurance sort of side of things, right? The risk mitigation side of things. Now, one thing that I just wanted to say that when it comes to non-compete agreements, the laws vary by states, right? So, for instance, California does not allow non-compete agreements. So you want to check your state non-compete laws to learn if there are special restrictions you must follow. And this is very important. Another thing I want to say before we close this chapter here is that, a non-compete agreement might not be right for you. For instance, if you have an employee, and the employee leaves the company, if you have a non-compete agreement and this is binding, the employee might have difficulty finding another job if they leave your company. So what that means for your company is that if the employee is highly qualified, they'll just choose not to come work for you, because they know if something happens and they have to leave, they can't work in the similar industry. So this is just something you have to think about. All right, I'll be right back right after this. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. We're still here. We're still talking about something very interesting, which is Small Business Law 101. If you just catch us right now, please just remember that we're having a very interesting conversation around an equally interesting framework. So whether you're just starting out or you have been operating for years, you need to confront many legal obligations and issues faced by entrepreneurs and small business owners all over America. This beginner's legal playbook has taught you everything you must understand, so no one can mess with you, thus ensuring your business is legally protected. If you want the word litigation to be retired once and for all from your business vocabulary and records, you must start implementing today all of the small tips, tricks, and tactics revealed in this vademecum. Now, I think it's very important to also say that, we talked about a lot of stuff in this show, and a lot of legal scholars have made this observation nearly a half century ago, when they said that small business owners are always more interested in their outcome than in their constitution. What I'm trying to say here is that as a business owner, your reflex is to produce money, but you got to think about the constitution, the structure of your business, the foundation, the legal and operational foundation of your business. Because if that one is frail, if that foundation is frail, you have no business. You can get sued. Everybody and anybody can mess with you, right? And that's what we don't want. So just gonna quickly recap what we talked about today. I talked about the best business structure for small business. I defined what articles of incorporations are. I talked about whether or not a sole proprietor can have employees, how business structure affects taxes. I gave you a list of key questions to ask before starting a business, what you should think about when it comes to exit strategies. I talked to you about legal implications of a business plan. I gave you an idea, an overview, and key steps of liquidation, how to protect your business with a partnership agreement with your partners. Let me just come again here. How to protect your business with the partnership agreements. I talked about bankruptcy for small business owners, the owner responsibilities when it comes to financial tasks, and what a non-compete agreement means, right? Now, as you all know, anytime we have a show, I like to always give a CTA a call to action, because it's very important to listen to the info, but you have to implement it. You have to think of yourself as a decision maker. So today's CTA call to action is hire a qualified attorney to assist you in business formation and have him or her on retainer. So make sure you pay this person every 3 months, every month, so they are on retainer. Have a written contract with your attorney. So you want to also officialize things and formalize things with your own attorney. Select a viable business name and obtain all necessary licenses and permits. Always implement written contract and agreements with all stakeholders, including employees, vendors, and customers. Okay? Market properly, and always protect intellectual properties. Right? So market properly and always protect intellectual property. And the last one is try to settle all cases out of court rather than pursuing a full-on litigation process. This is so important, right? Because the last thing you want is you just want to keep suing people. It's just a waste of time, energy, and sometimes waste of money. Not sometimes, all the time, actually. All right? We also want to talk about a pro tip. Totally forgot. Pro tip will be revealed to you. Today's pro tip will be revealed to you right after this. Hello. This pro tip doesn't relate to small business law, but it's sure critical. It's about your company's finances. Always make sure to open bank account and obtain credit in the name of your business, and keep those accounts separate from your personal accounts. Failure to do so may result in a court finding that your business is not a separate legal entity, resulting in you becoming personally liable for debts or lawsuit against the business. All right? Thank you so much, folks. And remember, remain and be marvelous.